Hi, welcome to Romance Writers Therapy. This week, we're talking about... Oh my god, let me introduce you.
You do it different every single week.
I don't have the capacity to do things the same way every single time.
I like that for us.
Oh, okay. Keeps it fresh, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, you're Marty V.
That's me.
I'm Kate Pryor.
That's you.
Yes.
And this is Romance Writers Therapy.
Also, yes.
Yes. So, Caters, what's been going on?
Oh, I got my edits back from...
I'm very excited to hear how those went.
I have not opened them still. Sorry. Yesterday you messaged me and I was just like, oh no. I
love that I'm
running
always
behind.
I am always like your ticking clock.
You
like,
are. You're
time.
late on your homework. Your self-assigned deadlines.
I like that, like, I am so obsessed with time schedules. Which I think are the only kind of schedules there can be, but I don't know. But I am so obsessed with timing that I, like, am, like, a problem for you. Like, God.
You're not a problem. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but, like, you also caught me on, like, my monthly low swing of, like, just, energy and all that.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So,
I get super excited when I get, like, edits back that, like, I've gotten better about not needing to open them instantly, but I want to open them right away. Like, I want to open them. I want to, like, if there's a, like, written email, like, telling me, like, the things that people think like, a write-up of what should change and, like, stuff like that. Like, I want to read that right away. And then I just kind of sit with it for a couple days. And then I read it a couple more times. And, like, my brain starts fixing all the pieces. Like, I don't really actively think about it too much. I just, it just soaks in.
I getcha. I think after, like, I think I had shared this with you, that when I finished all my, ticking timeline deadline things.
Your timing schedules?
My timing schedules.
Dude. Okay, I just saw Barbie, and, like, that is the way Ken talks.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, I love it. Anyway, okay, so you just finished all your timing schedules.
Everything I had on, like, a little deadline. And, kind of gave myself a chance to calm down about, like, feeling like I was behind on things.
Yeah.
And, but, like, I was, I don't know, like, just tired from, like, having to do the mad dash at the end to get everything in, and, like, that I could not do any of the things I had been, like, dying to do, like, all the fun things. When you're working on stuff and you're like, oh, I can't play that video game because, like, I gotta work, I gotta focus, and I know that's just gonna take up all my time. Or I can't read a book because that's gonna take up my time that I could be spending on, like, all,
I'm doing better about allowing myself to have those things. Like,
glad.
Yeah, me too. Because, like, it's been dark days the last couple years of me feeling like there's just too much I need to be productive on to do the things I just enjoy doing, right? And, like, not to say there wasn't any enjoyment, but, like, my time constraints were just so very effing tight, right? Like, between, like, keeping the children alive and having zero help, just me and Andrew just doing it, and trying to write, and also every once in a while do real estate. Like, it was just too much on my, like, there literally wasn't time. And now it's like, you know what? I can devote an hour to reading instead of getting this work done. Now, gathered, I am currently falling behind on my timelines, on my time schedules. So I'm about to have to, like, devote less time to getting the reading done. But it's been really nice. So you didn't do any of the fun stuff you were going to allow yourself to do?
Well, so now I finally, like, found the energy and drive to, like, do my fun things. And
sweet.
Now, then you messaged me, hey, did you look at your edits yet? I was like, no, go away. I'm not an author anymore. I am a miniature painter.
I am two toddlers stacked together in a trench coat. Like,
yeah.
Have you seen that freaking Game Changer clip on
Probably.
the TikTok? Oh, it's so
I do love
funny.
a Game Changer.
Oh, it's so funny. Anyway, they're like two little kids on a date in a trench coat with each other, right? So they're two sets of two kids.
I don't remember this one.
Oh my god, it's so funny. It's like the preview for like the coming season.
Okay.
With the Wayne Brady.
I did see Wayne Brady's episode because that came out yesterday.
You saw the episode? Gosh, I'm so jelly. I want to see the episode. Can we like stream that? Okay, I'm so sorry, listener.
I can figure out how to make that happen.
Okay, I would love that. Okay, so you are working with time schedules. You are letting yourself have some fun.
I know I need to get back to, like, actually working. I'm just, being a baby about it.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my argument.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You actually have a decent amount of time. Like, you actually do. Yeah. So if, like, you want to take another week and, like, just let yourself be a baby about it and then, like, open up that document and take a look around, like, I think that's okay. I think that your edits will go faster than you think.
This argument? Okay, that's what you're saying, because I'm like, how do you know what my calendar is? Like, I mean, I keep, like, writing it out long form to myself, like, this month, this month, this month. And, like, this is the order that things have to go into. And these are all the social posts I need to, like, drop on these dates. Like, I've made them in advance.
You have been doing a really good job with your, like, social posting. I see you posting and, like, all right, fine, I will. Like, you help me do that task just by watching you do it.
You need help making things and, like, posting things. I'm all for it. Like, I know I enjoy doing that.
You're the sweetest, but I feel so bad asking. But it's okay. Like, it's okay. I can be a big kid. My posts don't look as nice as yours. That's okay. Like,
the thing is, like, I see them because I did see you post, and I was like, "Oh, I wish she had asked me to help her on that one." Not like a mean way, like, "Oh, I would have just like nudged a couple things."
What's funny is, like, when I leave Canva and I bring it up on Instagram and before posting, I'm like, oh, I should move some things around. I'm like, I'm not going to. like, I know, Kate. I know. I see the spacing.
You know.
Well, I don't know. I just see it right before I post it.
I do that a lot at, like, my day job where I'm working on a post and that, because, like, I have to make the socials. Mm-hmm. And then, like, if I'm tired, I'll be like, it's fine. I'm just going to pass this along to the next person who's going to do their job, And then, like, the next day I look at it and I'm like, what did I do? This is the worst. This is terrible.
Yeah, no, I get that feeling. The only thing that really gives me a lot of comfort is I can actively see how much better the posts are looking from, like, a couple years ago. Like, okay, I am improving
that skill.
Yeah, me too. I love that for me. So
yeah.
And, like, everything else, I just have to keep on doing it and failing until something starts to work out a little bit better. So
that is the unfortunate part. You do have to keep failing to get better.
That is just the only way I'm ever going to learn anything ever. Take a class? Never. No, I'll just keep failing.
There's some, like, not, like, when I say that, like, because, like, I went to school for film, right? Mm-hmm. And that's, like, not a great decision for anyone, in my opinion.
I am sorry you feel that way. But it has afforded you, like, an actual adult job. Not in film,
somehow.
But you do.
But, like, when I decided to make the switch to, like, graphic design, I fully was like, yeah, I've been, like, doing art, like, drawing, like, really well for years, but I don't actually know anything about graphic design. And then I watched, like, a couple of YouTube videos about, like, basic graphic design, and then got a interview on the basis of my regular art, but then she asked me a bunch of, like, graphic design related questions. Like, I just knew a bunch of stuff off the top of my head.
That's freaking awesome.
Because, no, and, like, I think it is really easy. It's just, like, you gotta, like, know those things.
I hope this is helpful to you, listener. I hope you are also, like, going through this social media journey, because I'm not quite done with this conversation yet. Um, I have done some search in like YouTube for like graphic design 101 sort of thing. And I just haven't been able to do a whole lot of that search. So it might have to become my new hyperfixation for a little while.
Okay.
Because I do feel like I need to switch gears on that a little bit. You know when like your normal hyperfixation starts to like give you less dopamine because you've already heard all this information before?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's
it's
where
the
I'm
worst
at.
feeling.
It's the worst.
The thing I love is not shiny and glowy anymore.
No, I don't have anything new to learn in this spot. Like there's something new, but like I'm going to have to essentially like pick like a thesis and go in that direction to learn something new, right?
Yeah, like you're either gonna intensify or just choose another direction. And it really...
I tend to choose another direction. Jack of all trades, like. But yeah, so you've been doing the social media. You've got your posts figured out, and then the way I know your schedule is just in the sense of like I know when you want to release Gargoyle. That's the only way I know your schedule. And so just keeping in mind that you have other things to do, that you probably have time to fuck around for another week on your edits.
I mean, so because I want to get I want to get the edits done before I send it to ARC readers.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though I keep going back and forth on this because like there is so much today. Kind of when you have to send out ARCs, you have to be so careful about people immediately uploading them to piracy sites.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's hard to avoid it because like I think like in previous years when Kindles supported specific file types like a .mobi, I believe it was called.
Yeah, I remember that.
Or an EPUB file. And then they phased that out and it was like, oh no, now everyone who like did the ARC reading by like just emailing the file to their Kindle, and you could just directly email it to their Kindle so that they don't have access in a like traditional sense to their like the file. Like they can only read it in this like specific circumstances, so they can't really share it unless they're a little more tech savvy than your average bear, you know. But that's changed a lot because you can't just send people ARCs their Kindle anymore. And
I did not know that. Like I knew that you could send it to the Kindle, but I've always just emailed it through BookFunnel to I
may have to like figure out BookFunnel.
BookFunnel's not bad. Like I can definitely help you. It's very user friendly. Like once you start like learning one thing on it, you're like, oh, okay, this is this over and over and over. It's not bad.
I've made an account on it. The interface looks really intense to me, and that's why
I'm kind of like... because it's kind of not shiny, right?
It's
so like
not very modern and like minimalist, which I think a lot of web browsers tend to
So have. I think that it like makes it seem more challenging to use than it is.
Absolutely.
Because it's not hard to use. So
well, it's also like I didn't realize BookFunnel did protect your ARCs. So maybe that's like a source of stress or something I can look into.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can like limit how many downloads somebody can get. You can give it to them like as a Mobi or EPUB, like stuff like that. Like there is, and then also you have it all through BookFunnel. Like I'm sure there's plenty of ways to like for people to mess around with this, but like it is at least this one thing. You know what I mean? Like I can see where I've sent all of these off to because I sent it through BookFunnel. I've also like instead of emailing to people via BookFunnel, I will like take the link and like drop it into their Instagram DMs and they can take it from there too. So like it's pretty convenient.
That does make it sound
like, if it doesn't protect it better, then at least it's convenient to use, right? Like, at least it takes some of the work off of it. So if somebody's going to pirate it, they're going to pirate it. And, like, at least you didn't, like, work hard to give them this file to pirate, right? Like, it's all in one spot. Does that make sense?
I mean, so like, someone's gonna pirate it no matter what, because
Yeah,
the
for
moment
sure.
it goes on Kindle Unlimited, someone can pirate it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's unfortunate in itself.
It
And
is.
I don't know, it just feels so fucking futile. I don't want to like
Um,
linger on this while I'm in like a depressive place.
that's fair. My mind always goes to like what do I have control over? Right? And so what
Yeah.
I have control over is the fact that I'm just going to keep on writing books. I'm going to keep on publishing them, and I'm not going to give a lot of like mental or emotional energy to somebody ripping me off. Like I'm not going to like go out of my way to make it easy for them, but like I'm also just not going to I'm not going to let that like have a lot of room with me. Like it sucks, people are going to steal it. That sucks. What are you going to do? I'm going to keep on writing my books. That's where I'm going to put my energy. So it's not terribly uplifting, but
I wish I had that, like, I don't know, the ability to make myself stop thinking about a thing.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially like an upsetting thing. I will
Yeah.
linger over upsetting things way too much. And I don't, learning to distract myself is something I'm still figuring out.
I don't have the ability to distract myself. I have the ability to change the channel in my brain, right? So
Okay.
instead of like being like, no, think of something else, because that's just not going to work for me. I'll be like, okay, well, but what do I actually have control over? And then when I'm like, it doesn't matter if somebody steals this. I'm going to keep on writing books. I'm going to keep on publishing them. This is what brings me joy. This is what I want to be doing. And then now the conversation has shifted and I've put myself back in a place of power. And it makes me feel better.
So we were going to talk about...
Yeah.
We spent 20 minutes on this. I may just cut that part out.
I mean, whatever you got to do. You do your thing. Yeah, we were going to talk about writing advice you don't take. Yeah.
Or just like, you don't have to take every piece of advice, and you don't also have to
Make a
treat
law.
every piece. Yeah, make a law is such a great way to put it, because I think that's really what it is. People people do take the like one piece of information and then kind of run away with it.
Absolutely.
When it's like, no, this is a sometimes kind of thing.
Well, and I think a lot of times it gets used as a tool of like, this is why I'm superior as a writer or as a reader than this other author. Because I can see that this is a flaw in their writing. Therefore, I know more about the craft than they do. Does that make sense? Instead of like being like, well, but how did they use that in a way that intensified your experience reading? Or could have intensified your experience reading? Right? Like absolutely no adjectives, right?
Oh my god, like that kind of thing drives me nuts.
It drives me crazy. And like, for one thing, know your genre, right? In
Absolutely.
genre fiction, we use a lot of adjectives. I think the benefit of trying not to use too many adjectives is it makes you think about like, okay, this word here, is there a different way for me to write this sentence or a different way for me to describe so that it's clear without the adjective there, right? And I think that that's an important practice to have, but I do think an adjective placed in the right spot is really helpful, right?
Okay, can I pause you for a second?
Of course.
Is the word you want to use adjective and not adverb?
No, you're right. It is definitely adverb.
Okay, because I was having a whole moment like, wow, I didn't realize there are people who are like this intense
Don't use
about
an
using adjectives. Like, wow, we're going like real minimalist on how we use any words now. Okay.
Look,
God,
I don't know
was
who
like,
made
what's
it
this
add.
subculture you're privy to that is...
It's not. My brain just
Against
thinks that everything's the
adjectives.
same.
No, I'm really glad that, like, this reality I was starting to, like, invent is not real.
What's really funny is how little you have to, like, know about grammar to be able to produce books.
Absolutely. I think it's amazing that
I think it's
you don't
amazing.
need all that much grammar knowledge.
You really don't.
To do
As long
good.
as as long as you can like create a book that people are really into. I do know the difference between adjective and adverb, but like that's what happened in my brain. So like add.
No, absolutely. I do that too. You just can't escape it.
Yeah. But yes, we're talking about adverbs and not adjectives. I even wrote down adjectives. So I could have checked myself a couple times. But that's not what listener came for. Listener came for me to be wrong.
Listener wanted to hear you say adjectives.
Over and over and over.
Okay, so we're all for using adjectives and
yes,
also for using adverbs.
100%. Everything is a tool. If you know how to use the tool, you should use it. Right?
Oh, like, absolutely. And I love that. See, I saw a TikTok about this, and this girl's point was you can use the passive voice as a tool. You can use it to convey greater meaning and like help people like read between the lines and like feel smart when they're reading because you know, they're seeing something that isn't explicitly in the text, but it's in the tone because you use something to create a tone instead of kind of flatly using constant active voice, you know?
That is absolutely beautiful. But yeah, I think that, like, for one thing, know the genre you're writing in. If other authors, like successful authors in your genre, are writing with adverbs and adjectives, likely, like, do that, right? Like, and then also, I wrote a sentence today that had particularly in it. And, like, I was looking at the sentence, and I'm like, well, it's not necessary, but with the word particularly in that, the tone makes it more funny, right? Like, yeah. Like, it created part of the voice. It allows
enough space to, like, kind of make room for, like, the humor.
Yeah. And, like, it creates, like, a point that the character is making in such a way that, like, this is meant to, like, be a little more specific in their brain. Like, they're just not particularly okay right now. You know? They're not okay right now. They're not particularly okay right now. Like, there's just a difference in the sound. And
yeah, no,
it's
absolutely.
Funny. I'm sorry. I think Jude, are you knocking? Nope. It's just them running around upstairs that's making my door rattle. So sorry, everyone. Okay. Do you have another one? I love the point about passive voice.
Passive voice is the one that was sitting on my mind, and I was gonna like
I have more
talk about it, but then you use the word like use these things as tools, and I was like, oh my god, that's exactly the thing I wanted to say though.
Okay, another one is show, don't tell. I love to ignore this one.
See,
like
I
sometimes tell
the concepts of show, don't tell because I think you can make the reader feel smart by showing them things and letting them add them up together instead of like, you know, saying like, she shot him. You could be like, he came in and he saw the gun in her hand and the guy dead on the floor. And it's like, oh, okay, 2 and 2.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I'm not saying don't ever show, but I'm definitely not saying tell sometimes, right? Like, that's what I'm saying is like, tell is just as much a part of the pacing of the story. And, like, if I show every single element of the story, we're going to have a really slow-paced story. But sometimes you tell so you can move on to something that's more interesting, right? Or sometimes you tell because that's what the character is thinking in the moment.
You've really hit the nail on the head with, like, it's a pacing thing. Like, if you need to be quicker, tell. If you need to draw out the moment, show. And see, the thing is, like, so many people, when they talk about show versus tell, I feel like every time someone else explains their interpretation of show versus tell, like, I kind of lose my grip on, like, what I think it means.
Okay.
A little more. Like, I get this feeling that no one in any kind of writing or storytelling community really has a solid grip on this, because maybe someone does, but it feels so freaking tenuous.
I can see what you're saying, because, like, what you just described to me doesn't necessarily, like, with the gun and everything and seeing the guy down, like, that to me is still quite a bit of tell, right?
Well, quick example, but, like, but it's like, a little more show than it is tell. Yeah.
It is, for sure. But, like, to me, you don't have to do one or the other necessarily. Like, you can weave these two things together.
Absolutely.
Right? Like you could tell and then extend the concept in show or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it's pacing, and I think that nothing is a hard. You gotta use all the things, right? I don't want to keep on saying use your tools, but like that's all I can think right now. So.
Well, so I do think that you can create and be extra creative using rules that restrict, you know? E. Cummings only ever wrote with lowercase letters, I believe, you know?
Really?
And yeah, that's like the whole thing. When you reference E. Cummings in a, like, if you're writing an essay or an article about him, usually people will lowercase the EE and the C.
Okay.
And, like...
Yeah, okay, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Although I don't believe he ever actually did that for, like, his name. But, you know.
Yeah, because I don't think it's lowercased on Elements of Style.
Well, he's not on the Elements of Style. That's E.B. White.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Who's E.E. Cummings then?
Oh, I forget what he did.
Okay.
I just remember, like, he's, like, remembered really, like, for this one, like, weird grammatical quirk.
Okay.
I can't remember what he actually did beyond that.
But okay, so he's writing with lowercase.
So, I was just going to move on to my next example.
Okay, go for it.
I can't. Like, that's just an example of, like, a rule you can impose on yourself to create your own style. There's a Tumblr user, T-Shoes and Hair. That's their name. I don't remember what their actual... I think their name's, like, Arwen or something. It's been a while. But,
okay.
like, I remember them posting a lot about how they were writing a whole book, and it was never going to include the letter I, and that was going to be, like, thematically significant, so no one ever gets to say I and, like, start a sentence that way.
Okay.
That really changes and restricts a narrative, but, and it's, like, all the words you can use.
Yeah. I mean, it instantly makes it a third person.
Absolutely. Like, it changes who gets to, like, see things and how they get to talk about things. And there's, like, a very specific word that I don't know, but it does mean, like, an entire book or work, excluding specific characters. Or, like, type characters.
Ooh, this is another thing, is, like, don't use cliche, or, like, don't, like, let your characters be archetypes, right? And while I agree with that mostly, I do think that there is also, like, a power in people being able to identify something very quickly.
Absolutely.
Like if this cliche works in this sentence, like, and it's kind of being used in a different way, or it's just kind of being used in such a perfect way, like, throw it in there. But also, if you're writing somebody and they're kind of archetypal, like, is it somebody we have to know right away and they're not going to have a lot of screen time? And, like, but they're also going to be important to the narrative? Then I think it's okay to, like, choose an archetypal, like, moment. But I'm currently reading a book that I feel like every single character is archetypal, and I am not a fan of that. That is driving me a little bonkers.
Yeah? That's something you notice?
Yes.
I feel like I've never, like, stopped and, like, with a book and been like, there's too many character archetypes in this.
Okay. So, it is an incredibly popular book, right? That I have been having a hard time connecting with, and I realized the characters are very much... like, here is a nasty woman that's very mean. Insert this character. Here is an emotionally, like masking character. Insert this character. Here is this woman that's, like, strong, independent, self-reliant, survivor. Insert this character, right? And
Okay.
all of these archetypes are just sitting there, and every single character is this archetype. They all have a really great emotional depth, but their characters themselves, the things they say, their mannerisms are incredibly just an archetype, right? While their emotional arcs are all really clear and really beautifully handled, but they also are all facing a lot of trauma. And so, like, we're seeing this same emotional note being handled really, really well throughout all of the characters, right?
Right.
And I don't, like, I'm not saying this author is a bad author. I think they're fantastic. I just think
Clearly,
that
if it's
this
a popular book.
it's hugely popular. And like I can point at all of the reasons it's hugely popular. But I can also point to the reason why I am not connecting. Like I don't need a character like a world that's super engrossed or a plot that's super thick. I need characters that I feel really fleshed out with to like follow through. Right?
Right.
So it's just like one of those situations where like I see why I'm not like hitting this vibe at all, but I can see why everybody else is. It's good. It's I just if I didn't have other people that really wanted me to read this book, I would not read it.
I'm
gonna
so
finish.
curious what the book is.
I think when I tell you, you'll be like, oh.
Do you want to tell me, and then like I'll delete it from the. I'll pop it
Yeah.
out.
Okay. It's A Court of Mist or whatever.
I thought this was gonna be it.
I knew it. I knew you would too.
Oh my god. Okay. See, when you
Okay.
brought up trauma, I was like, I also did not like how they dealt with trauma in the book. I think if you're gonna tell me it is. Ugh.
And like I think that like yeah, we don't need to spend a bunch of time talking about the book that we're not going to tell everybody it is. But yeah. So I think that again, cliches and having a archetype character is totally fine if you are using it correctly. Right? Like I just recently watched this show Big Door Prize. It's on Apple and it has Chris O'Dowd. And there's this character, there's quite a few archetypes in it. Like there's like the guy who had like his peak in high school and he's like that's his thing, right?
Yeah.
And he's pining over the woman that he's been into since high school. Everyone's kind of falling into their archetype. Like they kind of start out more like fleshed out and they start falling into like this archetype, and I think they handled it really well. I think that show did a great job, but I just think that you have to be really picky about when you use these things. That is a personal like stylistic thing to me. Is like I will not automatically it will be harder. Yeah, it'll be harder for me to connect to it if that's the way every single character is. But if you have one character that's being like the jock archetype, like, then I will be like, oh, that was very much a choice. I see what you're doing there. You know what I mean?
Okay. See, I like an archetype when you have a big cast, but I definitely feel that, like, when you kind of zoom in narratively on that character, you need to, like, be able to have an interesting twist on that archetype.
I agree.
But again, this is just like how I like to like read things about it, or how I like to write things about it. Like as a tool. Like some people may just prefer the things flatter or different, you know?
Or like, and again, I need to know that like this is a choice by you, right? Like I need to know, like I need to be able to see how you fleshed out the main character and how nuanced they are, in order for me to, like, appreciate that you didn't do that for every single person, because you kind of can't.
Yeah. See, okay. I do think when you get to... Which book did you say you're on? The first one?
I'm only on the second one.
Okay, the second one? All right. I don't think it'll get better for you then.
I don't think it will. I think this is I committed to reading this book, and when I'm done, I will not move on. Like, I would be surprised to see me moving on.
Okay. I would love to know what, like, your live tweet kind of
You want me to?
Like,
I will do that for you.
I love that so much when I've read the same book.
Mm-hmm. I also would really appreciate that because, like, as I'm reading, I just want to be like, okay, and then this shit. But I don't have anyone I feel like I can really dish about it to because, like, the people who have asked me to read this are very invested in the series. And I don't want to, like, when I tell them the things I don't appreciate, I don't want to come off like I'm sensationalizing it. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Yeah. I get you.
Do you want to know another thing I'm going to stop doing? Or I'm going to ignore the advice on? Commas.
Commas.
I'm done using commas, friends.
Oh, like you're against them now.
I'm 100% against them. No one knows how to use them. I'm never using a comma again.
Okay, that's a very different take because usually I think authors tend to overuse commas. And I definitely fall into that camp too.
I don't even know what I do. I don't know.
You don't know if you use them too much or too little?
I'm doing copy edits right now and I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I putting commas here and why am I taking commas away from there? I don't understand the comma. It's very frustrating. I trust this person. They're right. I'm wrong. 100%. I just don't understand commas, so I might just take that key off my keyboard.
Okay.
I'm actually going to yeah, I'm going to continue using commas. I just am also going to be very frustrated about it. So that was a joke
loud about your frustration.
Yes, commas are the worst. And then I absolutely hate when someone's like showing me a sentence and like, should there be a comma here? I'm like, I don't know. I would pay someone to tell me that. So don't you dare. I will
Marty, do you think I could put a comma here?
Sure. Put a comma after every word.
I like semicolons.
I love semicolons, actually.
You like a semicolon?
I love a semicolon. A semicolon I understand.
Yeah?
Yes.
That's wild.
I understand a semicolon. Also,
in place of all your commas, use semicolons. It's stylistic.
It's going to be so distracting. And what a weird choice to make in the romance genre.
Just like
these whale readers being like, what the fuck is up with these semicolons?
It's like, God, what is your deal with the semicolons?
She said, kind of semicolon, quotation marks.
No question. No other punctuation.
No other punctuation. Only semicolon. I love this. This is my dream come true.
I'm really down for this weird grammar cult where...
Okay, but this is actually, like, totally a thing that's happening in literary fiction where people are like there was, Normal People? Is that the book it's called? Anyway.
Maybe. Is Sally Rooney book?
I think so. But they don't use, like, any quotation marks. Because the writing is supposed to be done. Yeah, samesies.
Off the bat, I don't think I like that.
No, I haven't picked up the book because of that reason. Or I'm like, I don't think I can get past this. But, like, the concept is supposed to be that the writing is so clear, the quotation marks are no longer necessary. That there should never be a question of who's talking or if it's a dialogue because of how clear the writing is. So,
some big-ass balls to, like, assume. Like, just on the fucking...
Big old dick.
Sally Rooney. But, like... that's some confidence you've got there.
Also, it might not be that book, but I swear to God it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sally Rooney.
Yeah, it's definitely like I'm putting my foot in my mouth, but I also might not be. So, anyway, but yeah,
See,
this whole, like...
I love the idea of, like, dramatic grammar choices, but at the same time, if, like, you're gonna make it a little bit difficult for me to read, I'm gonna be like, don't care for this.
That's so funny. So, like, you as the author, you love it, but you as a reader, you're like, you pretentious fuck.
As a like, in a student kind of way, like, if you were teaching me a lecture about this, but, like, as a reader, if I pick something up and, like, it's a little bit, like, it's like, you're gonna make me work for it? No. Goodbye.
It's like when somebody writes too much of an accent into dialogue. Like, that might
exactly.
That might actually be the way they're saying this. but it's slowing me down in the reading, and I have to say it out loud. It's taken me out of the book.
Oh no, if I get to the point where I don't understand what something means when someone said it in an accent, I'm just like ignoring it. I'm moving on. I don't care if I didn't get the information.
You know, I do that a lot with names that are weird. Like,
absolutely.
I don't know. That's that D letter named guy who's talking now. Like, yeah. I a lot of times, like, people are like, how do you say their name? I'm like, I don't. I just don't do that. I skip that.
Oh my god. See, I am the ficklest. Like, I don't know what it is. A lot of things will just turn me off about a book, and like formatting or like just choices. And God, I read a synopsis of a plot on Threads, and I was like, ooh, I'm like, okay, I never get excited about, like, when someone's posting about their work in progress.
Okay.
It's just, to me, it's so futile. Like, you're never going to remember it, and you're never going to come back to this.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, what are the chances it's actually going to, like, get, like, traditionally published and then, like, come back into your sphere of, like,
yeah.
like,
in 5 years, will I realize...
give up on the project?
Yeah.
Like...
Yep.
There's no point to get emotionally invested in, like, seeing other people post about their works in progress. I'm sorry. I also enjoy posting about works in progress.
Well, but you tend to actually be posting about, like, you don't tend to post until it's like, hey, this is on its way out.
I would... See,
You're like, I don't agree with that.
From Handle with Claire on my website.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That I had to, like, hide because, when I was making my website, I was like, this is all I have, and so I'm going to post about this. And now I'm like, I need to get rid of it so no one will ask me about it.
Yeah, I have Banded Together that's been up for a while. And I think it even says, like, coming in 2023. Because it used to say coming in 2022. So I need to be like, oh, coming Marty. Sometime. Sometime it's coming.
Okay. I had a thought.
I have one if you want another one.
Okay.
When you're only supposed to say, like, said or asked as dialogue tags.
That's so dumb. I mean, I personally think we should bring back ejaculated. But, just me.
I 100% will do that for you.
Oh. Thank you. You are a pillar of the romance community. It's so important that you're the one doing this.
I will dedicate that book, and everyone's going to ejaculate all over the place. This is for Cater Tots.
Categorization for no fucking reason.
No, there's zero sex in it. It's just ejaculation.
Okay.
But my point
I was gonna
with
talk about House of Leaves because, like, I'm like morbidly curious about, like, this book that you need, like. It's just very weird and intense with the way it formats things. And
I have only ever seen it as a play.
Oh, you've seen it as a play?
Yeah. It was really good. It was really good. But anyway, yeah.
So you know about its, like, weird printing?
I don't know anything about, like, its formatting. I, like, literally went and saw some, like, people acting it out. I didn't read it as a play.
I don't know that it's a play per se.
I think it was like I saw it, so somebody adapted it, but it was like a student performance, so I don't know who did that, but it was really, I mean, so good. Anyway, so anytime I hear about that book, I associate it to the play.
Okay, cool.
But it has a weird formatting. What's the weird formatting?
It's like, you know how every novel is pretty much formatted like, okay, here's all the text in, like, it all goes in the same direction on, like, and it's not in different chunks, and it's not in different formats on the same page, and then it doesn't, like, randomly skew off into a different topic, or to have, like, a million footnotes in, like, the weirdest spaces. It's very much that. It's one of those books where you're, like, constantly turning it upside down so you can read the next paragraph.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's like, for that reason, it's an intense and really physical read. And, you know, people say are like, I don't know how you could adapt this into an audiobook because, like, you would suddenly be without all these really interesting format choices.
Well, that's really interesting because they used a circular stage in the performance. And I kept on thinking, like, this is such an interesting, like, use of the stage work. And so I wonder if they were trying to, like, bring that element in.
That's a really ambitious play. Like,
it was really good.
Book to undertake as play matter. But okay. All right, now I'm done talking about my pretentious book choices.
Okay. I cannot wait to read that book, for one thing. But, like, using ask and said as dialogue tags exclusively, I think defeats the purpose of what it's supposed to be, where you're, like, the tags are not supposed to be distracting from the dialogue. The dialogue's supposed to stand on its own, right? But if you're using said and asked, like, throughout the dialogue exclusively, now I do notice that. And it is the opposite of what it's supposed to do, right? Because now I'm distracted because I'm like, okay, said again, asked again, right?
Yeah, and it just gets repetitive.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's important to, like, I do try to, like, use said and asked more than I use any other form of tag.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I do think that they blend into the page better. But I also think that in any dialogue, if I'm only saying said and asked, like, now I am seeing that that's a choice I'm making, and I'm not paying attention to what the characters are saying.
Yeah. Don't tend to use said and asked, although I've kind of come back to using it more than I used to really try to avoid it. Like, because there was the rule of don't use said. Said is dead, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you remember that, like, era?
I do. Yeah. Because, like, that's where I came up on, right? Where they were like, look at all these different ways you can say said, right? Like, this giant list of synonyms, right?
Yeah, I used to, like, print those lists out and, like, hang them up by my computer.
Yeah. And then I got input years ago. It was on Scribophile, where they were like, hey, you know, these dialogue tags are distracting. Try using said and asked more, right? Like, your dialogue should stand out. And I was like, oh, that's weird. That's completely different advice than I've ever gotten. And then I read Elements of Style, and that's what they say. That's what E.B. White, not E.E. Cummings, says. So
that book's like 100 years old.
It is,
right?
Very old. Yeah. Yeah. And so like, that's one of those things where it's like, I see why people have used that as, like, their, you know, Bible of craft. But I also feel like, guys, we cannot hang our hat on this. Like, language is always growing and changing. Right?
Absolutely.
Like in Shakespearean times, he was like, he was
inventing
really
words.
he was inventing words. He was playing with language in such a way that it was like, no one was studying Shakespeare. You know what I mean? Like, but now, like, that influence has adapted our language to this day. We just keep on changing. And, like, we were talking about how, like, the weird proposition thing with Rebecca. Like, don't end a sentence on a proposition. Wasn't that what it was? And she's like, that's a weird holdover from Latin.
Latin?
Yeah. Guys, Latin's been a minute. That out. Dude, I love that woman's brain. She was like,
excuse me.
I love that woman's brain. Like, the things, like, she'll send me, like, the nerdiest historian, like, TikToks ever. And I'm like, I'm invested, but, like, I also don't get it. Does that make sense?
I'm invested, but I'm also very lost.
I'm lost, but, like, I enjoy this. Can't really tell you what it means. Like, sort of thing. But yeah, she's so cute and clever. I just love her.
I'm not against, like, okay, I'm, like, not as a hard rule, because I definitely do that. I've, you know, been unable to figure out how to not end a sentence, like, a specific sentence on a preposition. So if I can't, I'll just be like, all right, I'll let this one go. But sometimes I'll see that I do it, and then I'll try to rework the sentence.
I'm looking up what a preposition is, because now that I'm saying adjective in that adverb, I'm like, I don't trust myself for a second.
It's like of.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They're a bunch of, like, little bridge words,
Yeah.
essentially.
So, like, it was all I could think of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be... So, like, the proper, quote-unquote, way to end it would be, like, that was all I could think of to do, or to say, or that kind of thing.
But again, like, it depends on how voicey your writing is, I think. And then also, like, what your genre allows. But, like, my characters would 100% be like, that was all I could think of. Right?
And the thing is, like, if you, you know, have, like, a great show moment, and then someone says, that's all I could think of, then, you know, that really works. Like, you don't need to explain what they were, like, I don't know. I also think it's, like, I'm explaining myself so badly tonight. I'm so sorry.
I'm having a hard time explaining myself tonight, too.
Yeah. Sometimes I just feel like I'm actively growing, like, less able to express myself.
Do you feel like... Because, like, what I'm running into in this conversation is, like, I feel like I've already made this point. And now I just keep on saying this point. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, no,
Where, like, really the conversation could have ended with, like, everything is a tool and just use your tools correctly. And, like, that's it.
Well, so I'm really enjoying listening to...
Oh, yeah, me too.
Telling you, like, how we get around these things that are, like, commonly thought of as, like, standards.
Yeah. Well, and I'm really enjoying this conversation, too. I'm sorry if I gave the impression I wasn't.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay, good. Because I am really enjoying this. But, like, it becomes, like, okay, how else do I word this? Is, like, what's happening in my brain. Right?
Yeah, and, like, how often do you actually, like, obey this as a hard and fast rule? Or do you... And the thing is, like...
I don't obey anything as a hard and fast rule.
I think there's so many things out there that people say, like, you use a lot of you use a lot of adverbs. Maybe use less adverbs. And then, like,
I ruined you.
That person, like, takes it and internalizes it, and then they do a, like, beta read and a critique on someone else's thing, and they're like, you're using a lot of adverbs. Yes. You should really cut down and only use one per sentence. Or, like, one... That's still a lot, actually. There's so many adverbs. Should use one a page or whatever. Whatever seems appropriate.
She ran highly.
She ran swiftly, highly, deftly. 4 adverbs per sentence.
That's just gratuitous.
Gratuitously.
Oh, don't be pedantic. I really like being pedantic. Anyway.
Being pedantically.
Don't write purple prose. That's another one I'd like throwing that right out. I like my purple prose.
No, but like, I absolutely like the idea that there is good advice in a lot of these like things that get thrown around as, you know, like the
definite.
This is the new rule.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right. Where somebody gets a critique and now they're searching for that in other people's work, right?
Absolutely. And then, like, it just kind of grows into a don't do this thing at all when it was, hey, cut it down on this. It's this is what's sticking out.
I had this weird time where I was, and it's because I was, like, finding different, I found that I was sticking to, like, the same sentence structure, and I was trying to break out of it. And so I was using passive voice quite a bit. Do you remember that? Back in, like, when I first started writing Just Fake Married, and when I had just written All Roads to Carter. I had used passive voice a couple times because I was just, like, finding myself stuck in this this pattern, right?
Okay, yeah.
And Katarina Stone noticed it. And she was like, hey, like, is this, like, a point you're making with this character and how this character thinks? And I was like, no, but thank you so much for giving me the grace of, like, thinking I was that stylistic.
Instead of just immediately jumping to,
exactly.
Hey, you're wrong.
Exactly. And that's one of my favorite things about how she gives critiques is she asks questions before being like, hey, that's not what you do. Right? And I think that is something that, like, is helpful to keep, that I have found helpful to keep in mind in giving criticism as well, is like not just jumping to like, this is something I don't allow in my rating, therefore you shouldn't allow it in yours. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, I love the idea of asking, are you doing this intentionally? Because that really changes the outcome of like what critique you're going to get depending on what you answer. Like if you had said, yes, I want her to be such a passive character, she only speaks in a passive voice, or she mostly
or
speaks
every
in
once
it.
in a while she will. Yeah, absolutely. Or like it's an exclusive thing to this character.
Well, so like then, you know, she could come back with a critique of, well, maybe you should up her passive voice and make it more constant so that people like really notice how she refuses to say anything directly. And, you know,
absolutely.
Or maybe you should like really edit other characters down on their passive voice so that it stands out more.
Yeah.
Well, like so it's such a great question, you know?
I agree. Yeah.
I love that we've got someone in our friend group who like
I know. She's
really
so
pushes
smart.
that.
We got some good ones, dude. But like, and like think that you make a really good point of like, then it can like shape what advice you give from there. That if it's something that's being done intentionally, let's make sure everyone knows it's being done intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, because I've definitely
like,
gotten critiques that made me go, like, oh my god, actually, I've gotten rejections from agents that said something like, oh, she's so much this quality, I think you should fix that. And, like, I was sitting there, like, that's the point of the book, that she has this quality and she's going to go on a character arc and she's going to change.
Yeah.
And, like, being so mad and, like, holding myself back from replying, that's the point.
Yeah.
You know? Like, obviously, don't reply to an agent's rejection.
Don't do it.
That's rude. Don't do it. But,
don't
like,
do it.
I've definitely gotten that critique and just kind of had to sit there and be like, yeah, that was the point.
Because I've gotten the critique of, like, you should use more show, don't tell, right? And I'm like, you don't get the point of my voice at all, right? Like, I'm showing when I think it's necessary. Like, I'm showing more than I'm telling, but every once in a while I tell because, like, we're moving along, and also we are so immersed in my character's voice, we're hearing the way they would think it, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, it's on purpose.
See, I also just find it, like, absolutely unhelpful as advice when someone just says, show, don't tell, like, overall.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Give me a specific example of when you think.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, when I'm, like, reading and critiquing someone's story, a lot of the time I think, like, I really, like, I will just put a comment in, like, highlighting maybe an example of tell, and then being like, hey, I would really like to see this expanded into, like, a couple more paragraphs, if you could.
I recently
But there's also, like, an inverse case where, like, sometimes people show a whole thing, and then I highlight it, and I'm like, I would love you to condense this into a sentence.
Yeah.
You know, that's usually what it ends up looking like as a critique from me, but, like, I don't know.
Recently got A.B. Wilson, Beta Red, Hazel, and Elijah, and she did such a beautiful job. She had such fantastic notes. But one of my favorites was, there was, like, this whole conversation that happened, and then I kind of summarized the way my character was feeling walking away from that conversation, right? And she was like, I think that this would have more emotional weight if you weaved these feelings in throughout and then just deleting this, like, moment that you tell, right?
Yeah.
And that was such a great example of, like, a moment where, showing that those emotional places for the character in that conversation was going to be so much more beneficial for the reader following her emotional arc than me telling them after the fact, right? So I really loved that input. And she had a couple other moments like that where I was like, okay, great, I love this. But she wasn't like, hey, blanket statement, show, don't tell, right? Like she saw what I was doing.
I'm gonna be real. So, like...
I love when you get real.
I'm always real, Marty.
Yeah, I know you are. Getting real with Katie. You would never go by Katie. Anyway,
I would never go by Katie. I was like, I'm gonna not say, don't call me Kate.
I have a nickname that I get called sometimes. And it's every time
Yeah.
it's like it's jarring. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit me at all. So anyway. But okay, get real. What's going on?
When I was in film school and we were making our senior theses, which is like, you've been here for 4 years, some of you more than 4, including me. It did take more than 4 years.
That's fine. Just the way you put that like asterisk on there was like, oh, okay.
And you know, it's like this is gonna be like the culmination of everything you've learned, and it's also kind of a test of you seeing a project from beginning to finish and seeing like it tests a bunch of things. And but one of the things people usually do is they usually write their own screenplay and then they direct it. And you know, then you have to get the crew together and you need to get people to essentially volunteer to be positions. Like, there's a whole system. I'm sorry, I'm going off in a different direction than I intended to, explaining this a lot longer. But so we would make like we would show our scripts, we would read them aloud in the class, and then people would give their feedback. And to me, it was the thing I noticed was that there was like at least in every class, I think there's like at least one person who, actually, no, I want to scratch that thought. Sometimes you get into a class and there's like one person or multiple people, whose writing craft is clearly still in its beginnings. And that's not a bad thing. You know, we all have the journey at different parts, and we're all in...
Absolutely.
Your mileage may vary. Like, there is no shame in like being at the beginning of your journey. I do, like, it does end up feeling a little socially awkward for everyone, I think, involved. You know, like, if you feel shame about it, or if, like, other people are explaining concepts and it's, like, hard to communicate an idea to a person who, like, is not on the same, like, level as you.
Well, I think also it just depends on how safe the environment is to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like...
Right. And so this...
Yeah.
This guy wrote a script about this guy who kills his girlfriend and billed it as a romance.
Oof.
Because as you do.
Oof. As you do.
As you do.
Okay, I have a beef to pick in a second here. You keep on going.
No. God, this guy was so insufferable the whole year because everyone kept coming to him with their gentlest criticism of like, hey, buddy, I think if you want this story to work, you need to iron out this part, or I think you need to apply this kind of thing. And the way that the criticism started out from like real specific actionable items to kind of people kind of phoning it in and being like, I think you should show, don't tell, man. And like watching the de-evolution, because week in, week out, he would bring his script back and then not have changed a thing.
And like how
have to double down. And
like, how do you say the same thing you said last week of like,
exactly.
This is exactly what I said to you last week that you continue to not listen to. So I don't want to put the energy in to continue repeating this. Right?
No, absolutely. And it's exhausting to like have to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there was a gentleman at my critique group in town previous to the pandemic. And, I would give input, and you could see, and, like, it was input, like, he would receive input from anyone, and, like, he would very politely be like, I'll think about that. And, like, you could see him dismissing all the reasons why he was going to think about it, right? Like, you're not going to think about it. Like, you're just going to do what you want to do. And that's fine. That's totally fine. But then, like, this just became, like, a public reading practice for you more than it was actually a critique moment. Right?
Yeah, no, it is. I think we've had other episodes about this where choosing, like, what advice to take and, like, what advice to ignore is such a weird and, like, stressful kind of, like, thing you have to make decisions on. So, like, Because I believe so firmly in, like, if you have a story and you're doing something intentionally, that you should,
Not
intentionality
change
is
it.
what matters.
Not change
Like,
it because someone tells you to. Change it because upon them telling you to and your reflection, you have decided they may be right. Right?
yeah,
Like,
no, they're like, you need to sit there and like hold space for like the possibility that they may be right. And
exactly.
that is a hard thing to do. Like,
Yeah.
no joke, that is so
Sometimes
hard
it's real hard.
when
I have
you
the opposite problem a lot of times where, like,
yeah.
I'll hear critiques and I'm like, they're right. I should have never done it this way. That's humiliating. I have done it wrong. And like,
Oh no, I absolutely do that.
and then like I have to rest with it and like, okay, well, all the reasons that you chose to do it this way are this. Is it possible that you could possibly be right? Like, could you be the one that made the right choice here? But I think that's the importance of critiques is like it makes you at least prove to yourself that this was the right choice. My beef to pick, okay?
Your beef. Okay.
My beef. I saw a TikTok from a girl that I generally enjoy. I don't. She does this like thing where she's like, these are the tropes that are going to get you going directly to jail, right? And I don't dislike that, right? Like, I do take it all with very much a grain of salt, but typically I find the tropes she chooses are pretty problematic, right? But like this time she had a third act breakup on there. And she did like, hey, a special place in hell for anyone who uses a miscommunication trope for this third act breakup, right? And
Right.
I just so badly want to be like, I appreciate that you are a well-read person. I think it's very funny, this thing that you do. But, like, you are not the one structuring these stories. Like, if we did not put a third act breakup in there, like, there's no overcoming. Like, yes, they've already overcome the beginning, like, reasons, no way. But now you have to have, like, some other moment, a dark night of the soul, that they have to overcome. And it doesn't have to be a third act breakup. But it is definitely more traditional for that third act breakup, right? And yeah, it was just interesting. But you were talking about you're going to be real, and then I had a bone to pick. So,
No, that I got my whole idea, my whole thought out.
yeah, I did too, really. So, Kate, do you want to give a piece of writing advice?
Ooh,
Are you ready to do that?
don't use adjectives ever.
Never, ever. Never.
Banned.
And limit your
Straight to
adverbs.
jail.
And limit your adverbs to only one a sentence.
But one adjective, one adverb per sentence, no adjectives.
No adjectives.
Ugh. Do what
Don't
you
ever
want.
don't use a comma again. Only semicolons
No
for
more
every
commas.
punctuation. I mean, we've given some
Follow
really good
all
advice.
of our rules, obviously.
Obviously,
Don't ignore a single one of them, or you will be straight to jail.
straight to jail. Straight to jail. Special place in hell for a miscommunication trope. Where, in fact, I
You
actually
feel good
think,
on that?
yeah, I feel great. I think we've given really good advice. I think we can put this one in the books.
All right.
So, Kate, where can they
Well,
find you?
They can find me on Threads, on Instagram, my as by Kate Pryor, and my website is kate-pryor.com, and you
I
can
want
sign up
to
for my
be
newsletter there.
Oh, yeah, you totally should. But I want to
Yeah,
be
you
a
probably
total...
should. I'll start sending that out again.
I want to be a total monster and be like, at Katie.Pryor.
No! I have like this memory of my dad being like, when I was a kid, being like, don't ever let anyone call you Katie. And I was being like, yes, I will take this to my
Never.
grave. And I don't know why he said that.
That is so funny.
Like, I don't think he has a beef with people named Katie. I just, or even like in like a weird feminist kind of like, or like, don't let people cutesify your name. Like,
Yeah,
not even
yeah.
that. Like, I just,
Yeah.
no idea.
So Andrew has always gone by Andrew. And, like, he was actually named after his uncle anyway, he did go by Andy, right?
Okay.
But Andrew has always gone by Andrew to the point when he was 4 years old, a doctor was like, all right, Andy, hop up on the table. And Andrew was like, my name is Andrew. Like,
you cannot.
You cannot do this. Yes, will not have it.
Will not stand for it.
Also, in his friend group, everybody had like nicknames, but no one could get a nickname to stick on him. Like, he is very strong. Like, he's definitely an Andrew. Like, no other nickname survives.
I bet you could pull it off. I bet you could be the one to do this.
I mean, the only way I could is if it was something annoying.
Go for it.
And then I would think it was funny. I used to call him Boo, and he didn't think that was funny at all.
I can see Boo not going over well.
Yeah, I did not pull it off, as they say. Well, okay, so you can find me at Marty V Author on TikTok and Instagram. You can sign up for my newsletter at martyv.com. Also, you can get the free novella of Hazel and Elijah Don't Get Caught before their book comes out, and it is available for signing up on my newsletter. Goodbye, listener. Have a lovely day.
Goodbye, listener.
Ugh.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Can you believe listener uses adjectives?